Jacopo, you can start.
Okay, thank you very much. So we can start with this debate event. In the frame of the Annalyn Foundation Virtual Marathon for Dialogue. So the name of the project is Learn Together, Enhancing Capacity Building During the COVID Crisis, and is led by our Swedish, the applicant is the Swedish organization Center for Capacity Building and Empowerment, which Asif is the founder, in collaboration with New Women Connectors and System and Generation. The motion of today's debate is the civil society organizations were effective in filling the education gap during the COVID-19 crisis. And we have four debaters. So on the proposition side, we have as first debater Flavius. Welcome, Flavius.
Thank you. Should I present myself or?
If you like, yes.
So my name is Flavius. I come from Romania. I'm 18. I'm studying in a French high school, and my passions are foreign languages. And that's all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As in the proposition team, as a second debater, we have Angela. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. So I'm Angela. I'm coming from Macedonia. I'm 22 years old, and I'm an English teacher. I like traveling, and also I like to engage in voluntary work. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And we move to the opposition team. So the first debater is Oya. Welcome, Oya.
Hi everyone, I'm Oya, logging in from Turkey, and I'm currently working as a cross-cultural dialogue facilitator and trainer. And I'm so happy to be here for this event.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. And the second debater in the opposition team, we have Erilda. Welcome, Erilda.
Thank you, Jacopo. So I'm Erilda, and I come from Albania.
Erilda, sorry, my connection is lower down a little bit. Did you introduce?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, no, it's my connection problem. So
now we can hear you. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. So thank you very much. We thanks our four debaters for preparing for today. Thanks a lot to all of them for the hard work of preparation. Also, we welcome the adjudicators, which actually, so one adjudicator is Esmeralda.
And Asif.
And Asif. Okay, you will be the adjudicators. Okay, so Esmeralda, welcome.
Thank you very much, Jacopo, and thank you very much to everyone for having shown interest and joining today in our event, the debate. And it's indeed a pleasure to be here, to be adjudicating another debate after the one of 2 days ago. I wish a fruitful and joyful debate, especially to the debaters, but also to the other participants.
Thank you very much, and welcome once again to Asif.
Hi, thank you very much for welcoming, Jacopo. My name is Asif Khan, and I'm founder and project manager of Center for Capacity Building and Empowerment in Malmö, Sweden. This project, today is the last event, which is debate, and the project was Introduction to Capacity Building During COVID-19 Crisis. Since it is the last event, so we kept it a debate, so we have more perspective or more hearted debate between the participants and try to gain something new out of it. And I'm really hopeful that it will be going really well, and we will have a lot of nice discussion to hear. And I hope that me and Esmeralda will be good educator in the end. The project is supported by Annalyn Foundation under Virtual Marathon, and we are three partners. Center for Capacity Building and Empowerment is the main partner organization, main organization that is leading the project. And together with us, it is from Turkey, it is System and Generation, and from Netherlands, New Women Connectors is also a partner. Thank you very much. Looking forward.
Thank you very much, Asit. Thanks a lot indeed for organizing and hosting us today in this event. Okay, so we are ready to start with the debate, and later on after the debate, we will give the floor also to our observers. So we will give also the chance to them to introduce themselves and provide us with some feedback on the content of the debates or on the flows of the debate. But now let's start. So I would like to remind that the debaters will have, in the first round, we'll have 3 minutes time to speak, each debaters, and in the second round, 2 minutes time to speak. So I would like to share the screen now with the timer. Okay, so we're ready to start. We start with Flavius as first debater of the proposition team. I remind once again the motion of this online debate. So this House believes that the civil society organizations were effective in filling the education gap during the COVID-19 crisis. So Flavius, from the moment you start to speak, the floor is yours for 3 minutes.
Okay. Dear judges, dear observers, dear participants, it is a pleasure participating in this event. I'm ready to introduce the motion, which is this House believes that the civil society organizations were effective in filling the education gap during the COVID-19 crisis. According to the Global Partnership for Education, the impact of COVID-19 on the right to education is felt worldwide. From 1.5 billion learners out of school in March, nearly 1.1 billion learners in 140 countries are still affected today. One group that plays an important role in education in many countries is education-focused nonprofit organizations. These organizations are often providing critical education and resources to the most vulnerable. I would like to share the first concrete example that defends my side of the motion. How Education Cannot Wait is positioned to respond to the COVID-19 global pandemic. Education Cannot Wait, the Global Fund for Education in Emergencies, was launched in 2016 at the World Humanitarian Summit to coordinate responses and raise financing for education in emergencies, and distributes funds where they are needed most and as quickly as possible to continue children's education in times of crisis. This organization is closely connected to their partners on the ground in vulnerable communities and are working with them to urgently assess additional need and determine what support and funding are most impactful. This is how they work to ensure no child is left behind and exploited by this pandemic. After excessive consultations with these partners and across the UN system, they are responding to the COVID-19 crisis with every tool at our disposal. Through holistically planned interventions, they take a bird's eye view of the entire developmental needs of a child in crisis and ensure their funded responses address their needs and coordinate wraparound support or fill gaps not supported by others. Their immediate challenge is to educate children where they are within the infrastructure and setting they are in. This requires innovation and creativity to enhance remote learning tools, services, and education. ECU has a range of expertise and background in innovative education solutions in crisis situations, including addressing mental health and well-being needs. And this was my first argument.
Thank you very much, Flavius. Thanks a lot. So now the floor goes to the first debater of the opposition team. So Oya, the floor is yours for 3 minutes.
Thank you so much, Flavius and the proposal team. Now that we've heard about how it's going to be ideally implemented, I'd like to, we have constructed our approach as the opposition team to come up with the actual impediments and the stumbling blocks that adult learners and mostly everyone in the learning area in this pandemic situation. So as a person who is working currently in remote learning and also virtual exchange intensively, I'm observing lots of issues regarding mostly the infrastructural issues that many participants from different areas of the world are trying to deal with. For instance, in our programs, even though we are trying to be as equal as inviting participants and helping them to enroll, most of the time participants from Africa and MENA area, mostly, they're having a lot of issues even to connect to the internet. And as a person who's coming from a developing country, it's also an issue that we're observing in our educational system. And to be honest, we're not seeing much effort, much pro bono efforts from the civil society organizations. And it looks like they were not agile to respond to the urgent need or the urgent measures that needs to be taken to reach equity. The issue that we are observing is that we are mostly focusing on equality, which is helping each individual or group with the same resources and opportunities. But actually in practice, this is not the case. And many learners are facing lots of issues, even though we are trying to give them the equal resources. For instance, language barrier has been a reported issue most of the time in our Erasmus Plus annual reports, and many participants from the areas where the education system is not supporting language teaching well enough, even though they enroll, they're having hard time to fulfill the requirements of the programs that they are enrolling in. Also, during the pandemic, even though there are some efforts to keep the mobility going, it's always been the case that not every country and not every participant from the different regions are experiencing the same thing, even though they overcome the visa requirements. It's always been an issue that the currencies are not as valuable and they're not being able to join the extracurricular activities. So our motion is focusing on the issues of inequality, even though civil society is doing their best to provide equal opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oya, for your contribution. We move now back to the proposition team. So, Angela, the floor is yours now for 3 minutes.
Thank you. So, hi. I won't agree so much with Oya, but thank you for your arguments. I want to say that during this pandemic, like many learners have lost their daily lunch as a result of school closures, but the civil society organizations were actually really active, and there was increase in demand of the CSOs activities. So the volunteers who are working in a lot of NGOs and other organizations were actually adapting their work while protecting the safety of the learners. So as you mentioned before, that there are not so many possibilities for a lot of learners to connect to the internet so they can join the activities. Thankfully, to the volunteers that work in NGOs, they were able to adapt their activities and to serve knowledge, like non-formal education to the learners during this pandemic. So during also in March 2020, there was like the United Nations Trust Fund conducted a rapid assessment of 144 CSOs receiving grants to assess the impact of the pandemic. So the assessments they showed how quickly the CSOs were adapting their work, while of course taking care firstly of the health and safety to the others. And as was the case even before the pandemic, the civil society-led support systems are acting as first responders and filling gaps where government like were not able or unwilling to provide some services. So thanks to the ACOs, like a lot of learners had the opportunity to join some trainings and activities where they could gain some knowledge during the school closures. So I would say that the civil society organizations were really affecting during this pandemic, and thankfully, like thanks to that, a lot of youngsters joined a lot of activities online and face to face that were able to happen in some circumstances that were that it was of course the first thing was like the safety of the learners was protected. So thankfully to civil society organizations, we did have effect on the education.
Thank you very much, Angela. Thanks a lot. And to close the first round, we move again back to the opposition team. So, Erilta, the floor is yours for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Jacopo. Thank you, Angela, for giving your arguments in the defense of your motion. So in the crisis of COVID-19, we would say that this has affected the whole world, not only the, if we talk about the educational background, not only the formal education that we're talking about school institutions, but also non-formal educations that are NGOs. If we can talk about organizing different activities that support, and we don't deny that a lot of activities have been organized and implemented, maybe offline to respect the COVID-19 restrictions or also online, like different trainings, for example, but we have to accept the fact that also schools and teaching methods in this kind of crisis have been online in the same way. So if we talk about fruitful methods and techniques in this crisis, we would say that they've been both used also in non-formal education and in formal education. So how we can say that NGOs have been successful by implementing those activities, and we can say also that they have been slow reacting in this crisis, and also the government has been using the same thing by guiding, let's say, institutions to use that formal teaching in the same way. So if they both have been online and if they both have been trying to use some methods to increase the teaching, I think, and we say that it's not that the NGOs are so successful in this part. Also, we know that a lot of activities and a lot of projects have been cancelled or have been like postponed for later because of this COVID-19 pandemic, and we can say that this is also a lack of success in a kind of form that it haven't accomplished its mission, not because they didn't want to, but because of the situation. So we're just comparing both educational forms in regarding to the pandemic crisis. So yes, this is my statement, my argument that NGOs hasn't been successful due to a lot of factors involving this crisis pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erilda. Thanks a lot. Thanks to the four of you. So we now debrief one moment and we are ready to start. We go into the second round. So as you know, now you will have less time. So you will have 2 minutes this time. So we go back to Flavius as first debater of the opposition team. Are you ready, Flavius? Can we start?
Yes, I'm ready.
Oh, okay, so the floor is yours from the moment you start to speak.
The second example I would like to give is from my personal life. the aid of the organizations to improve education and well-being of the students. In many schools, including mine, there are organizations, for example, the EU Solidarity Corps, an organization that used to work with my high school until a few months ago, which is a society meant to train students in the spirit of dedication, perseverance, and especially to have a constant desire to aspire to bigger and bigger goals. Organizations like this have a shared vision that gives it a sense of direction and serves as a motivating force for sustained action to achieve individual and school goals through diverse activities, projects, and workshops meant to give interest to anyone. It is also true that organizations like this focus their work on vulnerable student populations, whether their difficulties are associated with poverty, language and cultural differences, learning disabilities, or challenging behavior. Vulnerable students struggle to do well in school. For them, it takes a village isn't a catchphrase. Vulnerable students often require wraparound supports and services to achieve success in school. Community organizations are active in providing those supports and services, such as after-school and summer program. Also, the majority of student societies, clubs, and organizations are chaired by students who manage and oversee the internal and external activities and events that happen, as well as the funding and allocation of resources and facilities. Each year, students have the opportunity to be elected by their peers to run for committee roles such as president, vice president, treasurer, raising and giving secretary, well-being officer. Every role can offer a real sense of achievement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Flavius. And back to Oya, first debater of the opposition team for the second round. So the floor is yours for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Flavius, and the opposition team for coming up with statistics and actually some programs that have been truly successful. For example, the EU Solidarity Corps. But again, to tie it to our own argument, which is that in practice, it's not as equal as it seems. I can give this example of many Turkish participants or candidates not getting accepted to such activities, even though before the pandemic, because of visa restrictions, etc., and also language barrier. So meanwhile, similar countries with similar economic status like Bulgaria, they are easy. This is much more easier for participants from such countries to join such equal, let's say, opportunities, but in our case, it's not as bright as it seems on paper. Also, you said education cannot wait, but education actually had to wait because we've been observing a lack of trained professionals to pursue good quality trainings, because just saying that you're going to offer a workshop or a discussion session doesn't mean that it's going to fulfill the necessities of a good quality training. Therefore, it's appeared that we really need to train people who are adequate to do that, and it will take time. So many organizations that I observed had failed to do that, and they will need more time to focus on how to come up with all these diversity-based good quality education that the COVID pandemic especially brought forward today. Finally, we need a systematic change, including legislation, revision in school systems, and the civil organizations must be more active to push governments to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And back to Angela. So Angela, for the closing summary and closing speech from the side of the proposition team, you have 2 minutes. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So thank you so much for your arguments. So I would like to close this debate with our opinion that still the CSOs didn't fail in providing education, even though it's non-formal education, didn't fail to provide education during this pandemic. For instance, the schools, they were giving like online, they were providing online education that is not so successful. So for instance, the NGOs got, in my opinion, they got more effective on the learners, and they developed more techniques. So also they improved the quality and the focus and the access plus learning. And there was a high demand for activities from the CSO, like in the health sector, in the education mostly. So I would like to say that still the CSOs, like the CSOs, like they got adapted to work during this hard time, and they did provide an education. Of course, a lot of activities were closed, but if we didn't have them face to face, we did online. And what you mentioned about Turkey, yes, even before the pandemic, a lot of Turkish citizens were facing visa issues to participate in some of the activities. But this year, a lot of activities are organized in the Republic of Turkey, and they can take part on a local level. Of course, that doesn't take out the chance for them to go abroad. Just, okay. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. Yeah, sorry, we need to interrupt you.
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you. Okay, and Erilda for the last contribution from the opposition team side. So the floor is yours for 2 minutes.
Thank you. So to not repeat the whole arguments that me and my colleague gave, I would like to give like a conclusion, what we wanted to say in defense of our motion. It's a fact that many organizations have been inactive due to COVID-19 crisis in all this period, so they couldn't, and we believe that they didn't perform well and implement all the activities that they wanted to help the society. For example, we can talk about Turkey. We can say that toward NGOs were imposed more restrictions than in any other sector of society, that a lot of activities were not allowed to make, or they were postponed. So on the work of NGOs was not considered essential for the society. Therefore, they couldn't finish their mission. Also, the argument that Oya said, we would like to highlight again that European Solidarity Corps, we know that offers a lot of opportunity for everyone, but in this case, not everyone had the same opportunities to participate in those activities. They were, we cannot talk about inclusion here, and what is the main value of NGOs or European Solidarity Corps itself, it's that they have to promote this value of inclusion, and we, unfortunately, we couldn't see this in this case of this period. So not everyone had the opportunity to participate in activities, only participants from some countries. Thank you, everyone.
I'm sorry, Jacopo, can I get 15 more seconds?
Look, you can, but not in the debate, because according to the rule, it will be. But if it's okay for you, like, of course, I will give you the floor to finish your speech. But as debate, that will be whole. Okay. So let's give the chance now to the adjudicators. The only thing, I'm not the host, so I cannot create the room. So Esmeralda. Okay. So we just give like 10 minutes to Asif and Esmeralda as adjudicator to evaluate, let's say, your performance and assign who will be the winning team. And right after, I will give you the chance to finalize your speech. And then we will go also back to our observers. Okay, so the adjudicators are gone. So please, Angela, you more than 15 seconds, all the time you need.
Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to reply to Erilida. So in general, we were speaking about civil society organizations, right? But because Erilida started to speak about Erasmus Plus program and about NGOs, I want to reply that the NGOs actually were super successful and they could do the activities that they couldn't do indoor. They did them outside and they were most active during this pandemic. And about Turkish participants and about Solidarity Corps, everyone could have a chance to join online in the beginning of the pandemic. And so also online, we can contribute somehow to the society and to the organization. So that didn't fail actually. And we improved some of the techniques. We got out with new methods in our work. So let's try to look on a positive side of this pandemic. Still, we were able to come out with improvements. So that's all I wanted to reply. But let's not just take out of our mind the other civil organization, society organization, churches, or so many others. Thank you so much. That's all.
Thank you. Let's ask Erilda what she thinks. Also, maybe I don't know. Maybe she doesn't really stand for the position she was defending in this debate. I don't know. So let's ask to Erilda. Erilda, do you want to clarify what you really think, or do you agree? Do you disagree with the analysis of Angela?
Yes, thank you, Jacopo. So Angela, I would like to say that it's not that I believe this side of motion that I have to prepare for. So I had to look the negative side so I could give some arguments and to defend this side of motion. So I personally think that NGOs have done an amazing job regardless the situation. But of course, there are some flaws and some obstacles like in every kind of field, but I had to do that.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree about it. Like, and there are not so many facts that you can find to go against us. So, yeah. But I just wanted to add about the Solidarity Corps and about the participation of the learners. So, thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Okay, let's see our observers. So we don't have a lot of time, let's say 10 to 15 minutes, but if possible, I would like to, I will encourage, let's say, every observer to give a short contribution. What if we start with the magic duo, Gabriele and Yunus Emre? So if you want to share what you think, if you like the debate, but also maybe it will be interesting if you would like to share what do you think about this motion. Like, do you think that during the pandemic, civil society organizations, so NGOs, third sector organizations, different kind of, I don't know, youth clubs, associations, were they able, maybe in the context in where you lived, were they able to fill the gap in the educational system created by the pandemic? Because of course we were not able anymore, I mean students especially were not able anymore to go to school and so on. What do you think about that?
Okay, I can start. Hello everyone, I'm Gabriele, I'm from Italy, but I'm based in Turkey. First of all, I want to congratulate with all the debaters. I think was really interesting as a debate, and I like all of the debates are actually. Also, the tone of the voice was always properly. They were expressing really well their idea. After I want to enter in the about the motion, I would like to say. I think first of all, okay, I want to mention something. First of all, I remember 1 year ago I participated in a webinar and they were saying that among the ESC, so the NGO that work with this kind of program, during the first wave of pandemic, almost the 70% were closed. They stopped the activity. So the 67%. after I want to say, of course, the pandemic has been something that suddenly came, no one was expecting. I think the civil society in general and the organization, of course, they did all the best. But if we enter, for example, just considering the aspect of the school, the normal school, I think there are a lot of luck, but also related to the situation. I want to say also in the normal time without pandemic, there are a lot of luck also in the system of education. Let's just take an example. Let's think maybe of some children with special needs. So, and here I'm focusing just on the formal education, because after there is also all the aspects of the non-formal education that absolutely it's an important aspect if we consider the relation with peer, the creating the moment of creating the social relation and the interaction with the other. So I think as the civil society try to do the best, but after we need always to consider also the place where we are speaking, like can be different from country, different from a city or a town or a village also. So it depends also from the social structure that there was behind. But I think it's really interesting topic and we still need to improve a lot. Also, if we will go hopefully soon to a normality. That's for my part. Thank you.
Thank you. What about the gentleman next to you?
Who are you? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Emre. I'm 27 years old, and debate subject is very good. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
What do you think, for example, during the pandemic, for example, sometimes with system and generation, you were connecting online?
Yes, I connected online sometimes face to face in the office, sometimes outside we met. Yeah, I liked this station.
Okay, so in some case, at least we could
Yeah.
feel a little bit. Okay, thank you very much.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you.
Mary, welcome.
Hello, thank you. I got in here late, so I don't know the motion, what it reads about, or what it is about. But I, let's say, to a certain degree, can assume what it is about. And yeah, okay, I would really appreciate that.
So this house believes that the civil society organizations, so third sector organizations, were effective in filling the educational gap during the COVID-19 crisis.
Okay, thank you. So this was more or less what I also assumed it would be. And I fully agree with what Gabriele just said. However, when we speak about the education, are we speaking about mainstream education, or we are speaking about non-formal and informal education? Because even in the, let's say, normal times, no one can, let's say, pretend that CSOs, or civil society organizations, fill the gap, you know, that remains from, let's say, mainstream education or formal education. I would say this is far from it. It would be idle. Then I would say, why do we need the formal education? You know, why do I have every day to go to school, to go to a university, and so on and so forth? And also I agree with the statistics that Gabriele just said. I think it is more than that. You know, if we take into account, as Gabriele already mentioned it, the cities, okay, we start with the countries, and then we go to districts, I don't know, cities, villages, so on and so forth. But I will give here my experience, I'm really thankful to system and generation that during the pandemic, because during the pandemic I was stuck in Sarajevo with no one, let's say, to talk and no one to meet and no one to see. But thanks to this fast thinking and shifting of all the activities, you know, which during that time were happening online, I had the chance to socialize virtually, because, you know, okay, I was having lessons online, but it was so difficult for me, you know, to cope with those lessons. I was missing the classes, you know, like face-to-face lessons, so on and so forth, and they were really so boring. But on the other hand, you know, attending those online sessions and seminars, you know, it was so, I don't know, it was so entertaining to me, and was taking my mind off whatever was happening, and so on and so forth. Of course, they had a lot, let's say, a lot of impact to some people, but on the other hand, I wouldn't say that they really, let's say, filled the gap in terms of education. You know, of course, they fill the gap in terms of social life. I would say social virtual life, you know, because I was hanging out, if I can say like that, virtually. But in terms of education, there is a lot of debate about it, because, you know, we all have some profiles or some majors. So, you know, whether we were speaking about, I don't know, one topic, I can't recall or recollect the topics we were discussing about, but for instance, at my master's, we were talking about UN bodies, you know, and on the other hand, we were talking about, I don't know, I'm just going with one, about gender, you know. So there is no nexus between UN bodies, how UN works. Of course, you know, if I go deep into details, we will find some nexuses, but yet, you know, it's so it's, I don't know, and I find this motion, pardon me, you know, with all the due respect, I found it a bit, you know, really broad, and I would definitely understand the debaters if they didn't come up with really good arguments, because it's a really tough motion for me, you know. Myself, I wouldn't have taken the chance to be a debater today, you know, with this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary. No, in fact, if I may just say something very brief, I agree with what you say, especially at the end, let's say, because in fact, the only way to address this motion is to consider the specific national cases, and also this, not just country-based, but I mean, it really depends which context are you considering. But what, let's say, what we may have considered like the main methods used, at least generally, let's say, the main methods used by civil society organizations, the ones we know within the Annalyn Foundation and so on, if they were effective, you know, through the creation of many webinars, seminars, and so on, if they were effective in fulfilling a little bit. Of course, some organizations just try their best. I mean, it was really challenging period to work. But was this enough? Let's say, was this good enough, and so on. But of course, even I think my own opinion, like youth are very tired of webinars. This is something that I see, and they are not so much attracted anymore. They are not so much focusing anymore, let's say, because after 17-18 months of seminars, webinars, online conferences, and so on, even I see that sometimes, you know, it's not this, in my opinion, it's not exactly the same as having events in person. It's quite understandable. So of course you can have very nice event. I really enjoy when we make the events and so on, but still it's harder and harder, let's say, to attract youth. in online events. Especially, I mean, if there is lockdown, okay, some youth are at home, so they may connect and so on. But if there is no lockdown, it's harder, let's say. Okay, anyway, if we may have the contribution maybe of couple of two more observers. I'm sorry we don't have so much time, so I cannot leave the floor to everyone, but maybe if we can have a couple of contributions more.
Can I? Sorry.
Please, Francesca.
Okay, so it was a really interesting topic, and I think that also was difficult to discuss about this because Jacopo, as you said, it depends and it varies according to the context, which field we are talking about, in which country, which let's say range of age we are referring to. In general, for the debaters, I would say that it was really interesting. You all brought up really valid point of views, reflections, and just one one thing, since we didn't have the chance to say it, but if I'm not wrong, usually it's better if you try to not read. If it's not wrong, Jacopo, then or Esmeralda, correct me, or Sir Asif, if I'm not wrong. So then apart from that, also I found really interesting the way that all of you used your voice to convey the message was perfect, well done, and thank you for everything.
Thank you so much, Francesca. About what you say, yes, I can confirm, like, the general advice is not to read. I mean, it's totally fine to read some statistics and some bullet points. Generally, the advice is like not to read the whole speech, let's say, but I mean, this is according to the rules. It's just because as debaters, it's also important to evaluate your capacity as a speaker, let's say. So by reading, of course, it will be lower. It will lower the quality of your speech, let's say. There is no written rule, let's say, but that's the main advice, let's say. Thank you. I don't know if anyone else would like to add something. If not, we give the floor to our adjudicators. Okay, then I would like to give the floor to Asif and Esmeralda. Maybe they can share with us a little bit their evaluation and announce the winning team.
We don't want to share, we will keep it for ourselves. Okay, thank you again to everyone and to the debaters for the efforts and for the performances. I see that they had done quite a lot of research, but most of you, from what I know, you have been also involved during all this time partially in the civil society organization sector. So you have more or less some information or experience, let's say. And yeah, as Mary was saying, when we came back to the main room, I heard Mary speaking, and she was saying it was quite a challenging and tough motion, because during this time, I mean, nothing was black and white. That the civil society organization didn't do or did something. So there were positive aspects, but also not like, I don't want to say negative, but things that didn't work well, and we have witnessed it. About the performance of the debaters, as I said, both of the teams, they give good and valid arguments, and they try to defend their position with as much as we could. Yunus Emre, please be serious. And yeah, the winning team, I would like to say, to emphasize this, that we stayed 3-4 minutes without just trying to decide, because it was really we were saying, okay, this team did this good, this team did this good. It was very difficult, but it's maybe it's half point difference between the two teams that Asif will announce it. And yeah, in my opinion, I would like to congratulate them both. We in SNG, when we organize debate, we always say that both are winners. So please take this experience like something valid that you learned, you reflected, and it encouraged your critical thinking, let's say. And one little advice that I also heard that someone else had realized, let's say, it's just there is no written rule, as Jacopo said, not to read, but it's recommendable, better that you elaborate with your own words. Okay, definitely you can take you can put bullet points, but it's better if you elaborate the motion or their arguments on your own words. It's more convincing for the audience, rather than when you just may find some information valid still on the internet, but it's better when you give more, it gives more power when you are elaborating with your own words. And that's it. The rest, for me, it was quite enjoyable. Thank you very much. Now it's Asif turn to give some comments and announce the winner.
Yeah, thank you, Esmeralda, and thank you, Jacopo. Actually, yes, it was a very difficult topic, I would say. Generally, we don't have a lot of work, a lot of paper or research about it, because it is something that it is a pandemic, and still we are in pandemic. We are not out of it yet. And so I agree totally with Mary. She pointed out very well that it was not easy to debate upon. And even the professionals cannot properly debate upon these topics. And of course, I will really appreciate the effort made by 4 debaters. It was outstanding. You put all your points, and it was well described and very well effectively presented. But of course, as per rules and as per understanding, that there is one team winner always. Both like for us, of course, it is both the teams are winner, but as per rule we have to announce a winner. And it is like, as Esmeralda said, at a very, very small point where we can, it was really, really hard for us to make a decision. And like it took us a lot of time to say, okay, who can be, and these are the points, and these points were like, they were so strong arguments. And I'm sure that if you were given more time, you could have talked more about it and probably presented much more in a more refined shape. But also there was a time limitation for you. On a very, very small note, and not to take it hard, I would just announce one team as a winner by now. Of course, you both teams are winner, and we appreciate your effort. And we, as per me and Esmeralda as jury, we both on this small point difference go for opposition team, Oya and Erelda.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to all of you, to all you.
Thank you very much to our dear adjudicators, and congratulations to all the debaters. Congratulations to the opposition team for winning today's debate. Just before we go, I would like to give the floor one moment to Lorenzo. He told me he would like to share something we didn't have time before.
So yeah, as you were speaking about the difference or the changing in the educational system during the COVID pandemic, I was in the middle of a university session when the COVID spread out. And yeah, the difference in the changing in the educational system in the public, in university, in schools, and also in NGOs activities was radical. I mean, we went from physical and active learning to passive, staying at home and trying to doing exams and activities just in front of a screen, which was, I mean, in the first place, I think maybe it was not so easy for everyone, but we get used to that. And also after a while, we get bored of this situation. I mean, I guess everybody, but hopefully we're going to a better time soon, so we can come back to our normal life.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo. And yeah, so that's the closing. We close with your consideration, and we hope to see you back in our next upcoming events. Thank you very much for connecting today, and have a very nice evening. Bye-bye.